Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hi-Fi Home Theater. I'm your host, as always, Brian. If this is your first time here and you like if you enjoy this review, please think about giving us a subscribe. And if this is not your first time here, then welcome back. Focus up today, and the reason you clicked on this video is you're going to hear my review of the Arendal 1723 Tower S THX speaker. That is a mouthful. And Arendal has actually been in the speaker business for about 10 years, but until recently, they've been really a big hit in Europe. And it hasn't been it's only been since the past couple of years where they started to make an impact in the United States. I actually found them watching YouTube videos from the Villa Man and what used to be, it's now Shane Lee, but when Shane Lee's channel used to be called Spare Change, that's where I was introduced to the Arendals. And especially the tweeter, the round wave guide configuration on the tweeter and the woofers really reminded me of the Bucart S400. And if you watch my review, you know I'm a big fan of that speaker. So in seeing that, that's kind of what made me interested in this speaker, because I did like some of the performance characteristics of that one. So spent my own money about a year ago and purchased these along with the center channel and 4 surrounds to be my bed layer speakers in my setup. So what you're going to hear in this review is my opinion. I bought these with my own money. Arendal doesn't know I exist, or this channel exists. They know I exist. I bought their speakers from them, but they don't know that Hi-Fi Home Theater exists. So this is not a paid promotion in any way. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the specs. Again, this is the Arendal 1723 Tower S THX. That THX means that they are THX Ultra certified. They actually didn't seek out and design the speaker towards that certification. The speaker already met THX's secret, super, Black Ops secret qualifications just by its normal design. So that's pretty cool. The 1723 Tower S is made of high density fiberboard instead of MDF. So that makes the cabinet very heavy and more dense, and supposedly less resonant than a normal traditional MDF cabinet. They are 40.2 inches tall. They're 9.6 inches wide at the top, and down at the outriggers, they are 12.4 inches wide. They're 16.5 inches deep, and they weigh 69 pounds apiece. The available finishes are black or white in either gloss or satin. Overall build quality on these is incredible. These things are built like a tank. They are just these monoliths sitting in my setup, and they're actually very hard to tip over, which is one of the reasons I got them instead of the monitors on stands, because I didn't want to worry about my kids and their friends running around my basement setup knocking my speakers over. And that's worked out really well. They are very, very, very sturdy speakers. Frequency response, there's actually 3 tuning frequency options on the speaker. You've got sealed, fully sealed, so it gives you a frequency response down to 49 hertz, which is good for like an 80 hertz crossover to meet THX standards. Then if you plug one vent, you've got one vent open, you've got a 39 hertz frequency response. And then with both vents open, it actually has a 35 hertz frequency response. That's not because gets down lower than one port. The one port actually has the potential to get lower, but you really sacrifice the output. So the 35 hertz is the 3 dB, the negative 3 dB point off the knee. So yes, like you would expect, you do have more the potential to get lower with one port, but you do sacrifice a lot of output. Sensitivity on these is going to be 89 dB, and like I said, they are THX Ultra certified. Recommended amplifier power of these speakers is going to be anywhere from 50 watts up to 400 watts RMS. While we're talking about power, let's talk about amplifier compatibility with these speakers, because if you've done your research on these speakers, one thing that everyone will tell you is you really need a lot of power to wake them up. And that is correct. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get a great experience from not having an external amplifier. I use these a lot with what my current AVR is. It's the Denon X3800. So it's rated at 110 watts per channel, but really when you're pushing all the channels, you're only at like 50 watts. But I'll tell you what, across the over 80 hertz, they get very good levels and sounded really good up to maybe 15 dB under reference, 10 dB below reference even, which is where I normally listen to it. I don't really listen to reference level because I want to keep what hearing I have left. So I usually listen to at most 10 under reference. So you don't need to run out and buy an external amplifier for these. You can save your money, buy these speakers, try them out on your AVR and see how you like them. But just know, if you do plan on adding an external amplifier to these speakers, or at least your front soundstage, your left, center, right speakers, you will get a noticeable benefit by doing so. Amplifiers I have tried with these speakers are the Emotiva BassX A3 and the Monoprice Monolith 8125X. They're new Encore Class D amplifiers. The Emotiva did add a little bit more output capability, but just so you know, it does add a little bit of coloration to the sound, just the slightest bit of warmth. Now, this is not Marantz level warmth here. I thought the Emotiva actually sounded really, really good for its price, and you may prefer that slightly warmer tone than the internal amplifiers of the Denon has. The Encore Monolith kept the clarity actually of the Denon, sounded very, very similar at lower levels across the 80 hertz, but gave the speaker the ability to have great output, full range, and at higher levels. One thing I also want to talk about as far as their design is this angle. They're kind of angled back. They have this like rake to them that some people just really don't like it for some reason. But I'll tell you what, I think it looks cool, and it has two other benefits that you don't really hear about. One is obviously it allows it to keep the same MTM configuration as the monitors have without being a lot taller. Okay, so that's the obvious one. But the not so obvious one is something that I found that I appreciate even more than that is it gets the tweeter down to right in line with where your center channel would be when you place it on a normal 24-inch high TV stand. So what that does for you is instead of the normal panning issues you have with having a center channel under the screen, like I do, like you got you get this more smiley face of panning, you have more of a straight, more balanced, more conducive panning because of that angle and they having that tweeter down lower in line with the center channel. All right, let's get into how these sound. The sound of the 1723S Tower is very balanced and detailed. All right, these speakers have near professional, high efficiency speaker capability. I'm not kidding about that. I've owned several DIY speakers, high efficiency designs. I have a lot of the guys around here have monster high efficiency speakers. These don't reach those levels, obviously, but they reach the SPL output that you want from them with that with similar capability as a high efficiency professional speaker. They have a great range of detail, right? Their highs are very extended in detail without getting shrill and fatiguing. And their lows, this speaker has real output at 35 hertz. Not like a lot of speakers they say 35 hertz, but you start pushing them towards there and they start falling apart. These don't do that. They can keep composed and detailed, and they do not distort at very high levels, even pumping out low frequencies. If we want to break down the sound starting with the treble, I found the highs to be extended and detailed. They go right to the edge of sharpness without getting fatiguing or shrill. Think detail of an aluminum tweeter with the smoothness of a fabric dome. All right. The waveguide gives very good directivity, but also allows some good dispersion or air that's critical, in my opinion, for good music listening. It also gives the 1723S its great off-axis performance. So it does have some directivity, but it kind of balances it really well. It still gives you some of that more openness sound for music and also that directivity that you want with movies. As for the bass is controlled, detailed, and extended. The 1723S has real bass output. And so that is if you have good amplification, this pair of speakers is capable of supplementing subwoofers. Or in a small room setup where subwoofers may be a problem, like an apartment, even replacing them. It's shocking what these speakers can do with these little 6.5-inch woofers. It makes running them full range and experimenting with LFE plus mains or double bass an actual reality. Running them sealed gives you the proper THX roll-off and makes getting a smooth blend with the subwoofers very easy, even with auto room EQ. And then last, we're going to talk about the mid-range. So the mid-range blends in with the bass and the treble completely. It's completely seamless. This is a 2.5 way, not a 3-way. So there is no dedicated mid-range driver. The mid-range does not stand out, but is not lacking either. Detail is excellent and impressive when material supports it. Female vocals sound especially good on the 1723S. So you Diana Krall fans, you put on Live in Paris, and these things are going to impress the hell out of you. Not kidding. I mean, I love how female vocals sound in the speaker. Just super natural and detailed. A lot of speakers struggle with the female voice. They'll either be a little too shrill to try and get that detail. But if they pull it back to not be as shrill, they're too chesty. They come out too chesty. These female vocals sound very, very natural, almost tonally perfect, in my opinion. Tonally, they are completely balanced and neutral. Nothing about their sound stands out, nor is it lacking. What does stand out, however, is their clean output capability. It's just unexpected from a smallish speaker with a fabric dome tweeter and 6.5-inch drivers. But you need to use EQ to get the full benefit of it. James Larson at Audioholics touched on it in his review, but I want to give it more focus in my review. The 1723S's dynamic range and power handling capabilities are not just about getting loud. Think of it as headroom to allow you to EQ and shape the sound for your normal listening levels without pushing the drivers into distortion or damaging them. The design and robust build quality of the 1723S makes it possible to really EQ the snot out of this speaker, and that is where you're going to find its true capabilities. That's really where this speaker stands out, is the ability to shape its sound to exactly how you want it. It's really, you need power and EQ to get the most out of the speaker. And when you add those things together and you tweak it, that's when this speaker is going to impress the hell out of you. Given you have good EQ software available and enough amplifier power, you can dial in bass curves and shape the top end to be exactly how you like it with the speaker. Highs too sharp, roll them off. Bass too lean, add a house curve, just like you would with a subwoofer. I like to start it centered around 120 hertz or even 150 hertz to get the most mid-bass impact. These speakers can take it. I know you can do this with other speakers, but in my experience, not nearly to the extent you can with the Arendals. Remember when GMC trucks and SUVs commercials, they used to call themselves professional grade for their toughness? I feel like the Arendal 1723S are professional grade speakers. They're like high quality blank canvases that you can mold into your system to make it all sound the way you want. I've never owned a speaker that does so many things so well and gives you this many options to tailor its sound and blend it into a reference grade cohesive system. And that, in my opinion, is what makes the 1723S so special. Over the years, I have bought and sold a lot of speakers. And if you know me, especially the guys in AVS that know me in Southeast Michigan, you know I've been through a lot of speakers. And every time I would swap my speakers out, I'd be chasing that dragon. I would get a little bit of what I was looking for. I would gain in some areas, but I was always lose in some areas too. And what I finally learned over, it seems like about 20 years of really being in this hobby, and you've heard it a million times, that there is no perfect speaker. There is no perfect speaker. And in fact, I'm going to go out and say there's no perfect speaker for you either. But what there probably is a speaker that balances enough of the things that you like. And that's what it is with the 1723S Towers for me, is they get so close to what I love about all my favorite speakers that I know if I swap these out, I'll be compromising something. I'll be losing in some area. I know Arendal has stated that they designed the 1723S for music first, but it's their capability for movies that really stands out to me. When I powered them with the Monolith 8125X Encore amplifier, they honestly stun me with their clean and dynamic output every time I watch my favorite demo scenes, such as the opening race in Ready Player One, or my new favorite, the Batmobile chase scene with the Penguin in the new Batman movie. Saying that, I actually spend way more time in my home theater listening to music and watching Blu-ray concerts than I do watching movies. So why do I choose the Arendals? It's that jack of all trades ability that I talked about. They absolutely rip when watching movies. Their dynamics are honestly startling sometimes, but they also sound really, really, really good with music, giving me 95% of what I love about my music-only favorites, from the likes of Philharmonic Audio with the BMR monitor, and probably my all-time favorite, the Klipsch Cornwall 4. The 1723S's center imaging is third speaker level rock solid. The soundstage is broad and precise, often reaching out beyond the left and right speaker. Listening to music on the 1723S Tower is fantastic. Another great thing about the Arendals is they have the supporting cast that you want for a theater. So speakers like the BMR monitor and the Cornwall 4, they're great in a 2-channel setup, but they kind of lack in the matching center and surrounds category. Where I really wanted a horizontal center and I wanted wall mountable surrounds, and the BMR and the Cornwall 4 just didn't provide that for me. But the 1723S family does have a great supporting cast of center channels and surround speakers. I love the 1723 Surround S and how it can be a monopole or what's called a tripole, depending on how your room is set up and what you need. All you have to do is remove the jumper in the back to switch into a monopole or a tripole. And they don't cost any more than the bookshelf. So if you buy them, you mount to the wall, and you only use them as monopoles, you didn't pay any more for bookshelves. So it just makes, if you're going to mount them to the wall, it just makes sense to get the surrounds. The center channel, even though it's an MTM, blends perfectly with the left and right speaker and sounds great even off axis. I know a lot of MTMs struggle with their off axis performance as a horizontal center, and this one doesn't really. It sounds great even in my left and right seats. Now I'm about 11 feet from the speaker, and I have a row of 3 seats, and the center sounds great from any seat, so I don't have any problem with that. So these speakers, the Arendals, are what I'm going to call the Goldilocks speaker for my needs, and that's why they're my reference speaker. And I do not plan on replacing them for anything else anytime soon. So if you're like me and you love listening to music just as much as watching movies, or even if you are just building a movie only setup, I highly recommend putting the Arendals at the top of your list to try out. And I think they have free shipping both ways with a 60-day trial, so you're not really losing anything. And their customer service is excellent. So I can't recommend these speakers enough. As for cons, I really honestly I can't think of any cons for this speaker. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive either. There's speakers that are cost as much or more than the speakers and may do some of the things as well as these speakers, but I can't really find anything that can do so many things so well that this speaker does for the money. So in a nutshell, I love these speakers. They're perfect for my needs. They're not the perfect speaker for everything, but they're the most perfect speaker for me and my needs. I love their output. I love their clarity. I love that they can take gobs of power and you can EQ the heck out of them. And that's really what you need to do to really wring the most performance out of the speaker and hear what they're actually capable of. So that is going to wrap up my review of the Arendal 1723 Tower S THX speaker. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Again, if this is your first time here or not your first time here and you enjoy this content and you want to see more music-oriented theaters, I'm going to be doing a lot more movie reviews now that I have my setup, which is what I always want to do, reviewing especially Blu-ray concerts. That's really what I want to get into. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave your comments down in there. I do read all of them and I do try to answer questions. So, and I love having the conversation with you guys back and forth. So please do that. And again, thanks for coming by again, and have a good day. Have a good night. Talk to you later.